Prosilience. Prosilience involves systematically understanding, evaluating, and strengthening your own responses to adversity, so you're better prepared for many different kinds of challenges. Linda Hoops. Now imagine you're in 1847, and your name is Semmelwesis. Semmelwesis was a doctor in year 1847. Is famously known for his observation, his distinguishing between different autopsies, between doctors in wards and religious midwives who deliver babies at home. Interesting enough, what he found was that pregnant women that were in midwives' houses had better success rate than pregnant women who were delivered at the doctor's ward. This was mainly due to doctors that they were delivering babies in the doctor's ward usually just open a course, and at the time, from the lack of understanding of germ theory, they would just move on to the pregnant woman with all the microorganisms that were detrimental. Opposed to midwife who had the culture of making sure they wash their hand. Notably at the time, the medical nurse icon, Florence Nightingale, ensured presently that her working station was well maintained and clean, which is one of her many initiatives that has shaped medicine and nursing history. Although Semmelweis was the first to statistically prove the contagious illness caused by the lack of hand washing, he refused to publish his results due to facing so much strong persecutions in the science community, usually his work getting called childish and sassy dreaming. His solution also was the introduction of antisepsis, which was the first at its time, full of a chloride and lime solution. Nevertheless, in the year 1861, a French chemist by the name of Louis Pasteur published his research on germ theory that was inspired by Semmelweis. Although hand washing might seem simple, we see that this is an atomic habit that prevents up to 1 million deaths from the understanding of its relevance. In proactivity, understanding enables positioning to initiating or reinforcing a Prosilience atomic habit. We all had a near-death experience where we feel we're not necessarily in control, and that really forces reactivity to avoid danger. Reactivity, success is based more on luck than it is strategy. In a situation where we are driving, to prosiliently strategize, we understand that putting a seatbelt might not necessarily save our life, but gives us a better chance of if we were to be in an accident. However, if we were just texting and driving, we'll be forced to react, and everything will be left up to chance. This is a very similar feeling to procrastination, wherein we lack the control of our situation and we just go by the motion, essentially being malleable to our circumstances. This is a great analogy to really see how, from both strategy and through deduction, bettering our efficiency and productivity, where we can develop contingency plan through prosiliently strategizing by wearing a seatbelt, or improving our efficiency through atomic habits like forfeiting texting and driving or safer driving. Opportunity cost in economics is the money or other benefits lost when pursuing a particular course of action instead of a mutually exclusive alternative. This is a great way to explore the concept of the cost of every action, and really ties in also with atomic habits. If we were adapting to a new schedule that required us to take one more activity that affects our ability to go to the gym, eventually this would cause weaker physical health, making us more prone to injuries and disease, higher risk of chronic disease, and decreased metabolism. Alternatively, if I decide to journal every morning instead of going on social media the first thing in the morning, this can make me less connected to the world problems, which makes me more emotionally in tune. Detrimental influences that are not necessarily our own if we were to journal, opposed to the content we digest. Lastly, you're also in control of your morning. As Dr. Huberman and Jonathan Haidt, the author of Ancient Generations, has said, attention is the currency of our time. Ultimately, if we take in the philosophy of opportunity cost and understand the cost of the next best thing that we drive, opposed to the best decision that we believe, we become more conscientious of our decision, which is the mechanism that drives prosilience. And just like how opportunity cost can be applied in everything, so can prosilience be applied also. Examples being diets, investments, hobbies, occupation, friendships, discernment through fate. These are venues that if we presently enact, we can optimize our productivity and efficiency. A potential misconception could Prosilience now just be the same as paranoia? And I would say the main things that really differentiate this two is really the mindset behind them. Prosilience is the acceptance of obligations in more general terms. Paranoia, however, is caused from the fear of mishandling obligations. The mindset in health will be the acceptance of death and acting accordingly. However, paranoia will be the fear of death. When one is Prosilient, they're more in control and confident. However, if you're paranoid, you're out of control and always often feel anxious. Some faulty systems when compared to the mindset and philosophy of Prosilience would be watching self-improvement content versus implementing them to see they're effective. Multitasking versus delegating, wherein instead of doing so much more now, you're able to delegate some into the future. Working long hours without break versus the Pomodoro technique, wherein you break your time slot for whatever deep work you're doing into 25 minutes at once and 5 minutes interval, but it can always fluctuate. But the main important part is taking breaks. And perfectionism versus setting up for failure, which is similar to that facet of resilience, contingency plans. As I said earlier, the difference between paranoia and paranoid, and in the concept of where I said the acceptance of death, Medicine 2.0 versus Medicine 3.0 is a concept by Peter Attia, which is the author of Outlive, really explored, wherein Medicine 2.0 is focused more on reactivity with treatments when a problem becomes a problem, opposed to Medicine 3.0, which focus more on presiliently resolving issues before they become an issue, maybe by medical checkups that are early, or understanding family history, or just necessarily making sure you are actually working out, checking your health, and just doing things that make your well-being better off. In this case, in Outlive, he introduced the terminology of the four horsemen, which is cancer, chronic heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and Alzheimer's. And he made sure that he was able to give us a solution, which was more so the importance of exercise and nutrition, which is something most of us usually undermine, right? However, we had systems versus just necessarily goal setting, which is something that's also applied, explored in Atomic Habits, right? We're able to really capitalize on exercise and nutrition, which can make us presently be in a better position wherein we're not necessarily finding out these four horsemen later in life. Dr. Leonard Hoops is one of the first pioneering authors of Prosilience. From her exploration from 30 years of exploring the terminology resilience, she fell in love with the terminology Prosilience. And from this, she developed the 7 change muscles. First, positivity. What areas of hope or opportunity can I spot? Confidence. What personal strengths can I use? Priorities. What values or priorities should I keep in mind? Creativity. What ideas and possibilities can I think of? Connection. How might I draw on others for support or help? Structure. What systems and processes might be helpful? Experimenting. What new or unfamiliar actions could I take? These 7 chain muscles are really great work in really understanding how to apply Prosilience systematically and practically. Why does it matter? If we make informed decisions in all of our actions, then after outweighing the marginal cost with the idealized marginal benefit, we can live an optimized life that enables us to do what we want. This is the difference between deductive reasoning versus intuitive reasoning. This is why developing Prosilience early can set you up to outlive your unrealized life. As one of the applications from Atomic Habits, the best way to change habit is through systems versus goals, because they allow a person to identify presently who they want to be. If we begin to identify who we want to be, such as I am the person that goes to the gym every day, opposed to I want to be the person that goes to the gym every day, there's a difference in our vision and in a mindset, because now we start living through systems versus goals, right? If I want to be that, it becomes a goal, opposed to I am that person. So I would start creating systems that essentially make me become that person that I say I am. This is the power of the deductiveness in Prosilience, or the structure or priorities in Linda Hoop's 7 change muscles. Because if we're able to identify that person that we want to be, if we have an identity system-based goal, we start to adopt structures and priorities that align with this identity. And when it's adopted early, we can truly start to outlive with Prosilience. Thank you for watching that first episode of Prosilience. But before you leave, I wanted to bring awareness to the goal of this channel, or like I would say, the viewer mindset. The goal of this channel is to be a library of scientific-based practices to garner inspiration on how to become more resilient. Additionally, this is a passion for digital environment remediation. As an exploited, anxious generation, the digital world has become such a toxic place for mental health and self-growth. Although the digital world is vastly new, it's something that has become very unmonitored. As Jonathan Haidt says in The Anxious Generation, it's like we sending our kids to Mars, a place that we truly do not understand, but continuously adapting towards. The goal of Prosilience is really to be a philosophy as well as a community that's able to help rid and strip of misconceptions and stigmas when it relates to health and well-being, especially in the digital world. The overall goal of this channel is to give out scientific-based information that help us through the philosophy of Prosilience to revitalize dreams, which simply just means having the most optimal way of thinking and also information that makes us able to do the things that we dream and want. With that said, feel free to stay connected with the social media links and also the Discord that also reviewed by the Linktree QR code on the screen, or also if you're watching on YouTube, in the description below. Thank you again for your time. I hope we can all stay resilient and have a blessed day.